This is Victor Echo 7 X-Ray Hotel, and my name is Chris. I'm going to record this video because I've heard a number of people have had problems setting up the tools and building the System Workbench IQ32 software. Alright, so let's get started, and first thing we need to do is open up a browser and go to the internet and find the System Workbench tools. So I'm just going to Google that. And here we go. We've got a number of results, but down here, the way down in the list, is the Open STM32 System Workbench tools. Now, what I've found is, in order to access the download, we actually have to log in. So you may need to sign up your own account, and then you can log in with your credentials, and that will take us to where we can download the tools. Alright, so logged in, we're still on the landing page, and there isn't actually a download link, so we have to look around and see where we can find a link to the software. And we're just going to browse around, see what we can find. So in the documentation there's an installation manual. That's probably a good place to take a look. And here we've got, there are actually two installation links, one for the Eclipse editions. System Workbench is built on top of Eclipse, and there's also the direct full installer of System Workbench. So down here we've got all the information. There's a link to downloading the System Workbench for STM32 installer, and that's the one we want. So I'm going to click on that. And we go to another page, and we're going to select the version. So there's the installer, system, install system STM32 ARM 64-bit, and that's the installer. So click on that, and here we go. Now I'm going to save it. I like to save the files, so in case I need to reinstall them later. So while that's going to take about 10 minutes to download, we're going to have a look at the GNU C compiler. We're going to need this as well, and in fact we need a specific version. Now I don't know if a newer version will work, but there have been problems with at least some of the newer versions. So the one that's recommended in the documentation is 4.6.2. So we're going to have to look down in this list here and see if we can find 4.6.2. So we're going to have to go quite a way down. See what we find. Going back in time. 4.9. No, we're going to have to go to another page. 4.8, going way down. 4.7, 4.6, there we go, 4.6 2012. I'll just see if that's the right one. Let's just have a look at the next one to it. That's 4.7. So this is 4.6 2012, and that's the one we want, that executable. So I'm going to click on that to get that started downloading. Again, I'm going to save this. So now I've got two files downloading. I'm just looking at the progress. So the compiler is going to be done fairly quickly. Okay, let's get another file, which is the make file, and we're just going to go down here. So this is what we need to use to build the software. This is going to invoke the compiler commands. So we're going to set up program, and get this started. So it's going to start shortly. We'll just wait and see what happens. and there it goes. So let's save that. Okay, so moving along in the timeline now, both those two smaller install files, the compiler and the make file, have completed. So I'm going to go to the download folder, which is where we save them, and now let's install the compiler. Just making sure we know what we've got. We've also got the system workbench is still downloading. So double click on the compiler, install file, and we'll get that started. Now I'm running this in a virtual machine. My reason for doing that is to make sure that I've got a clean place to do the install, to make sure I'm not picking up any files that were in my own development environment. So we're just going to click through all these links and start the install, accept the terms and conditions, and that's where it's going to get stored. To click next. There we go, now it's starting. Alright, moving ahead, that install is just about finished. Some of these take quite a long time, especially running in this virtual machine. So I'm going to add the path to the environmental variables because we want to be able to run this from a command line and have it found. So that's what we're doing there. And then we're going to open up a command window, a command prompt, and we're just going to check the version, make sure it's installed, and make sure that the path is found. So there's my command prompt, and I'm going to type in. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste the command because it's rather long string for the compiler. So there's the string -v, which means look at the version, and there it is down at the bottom, version 4.6.2, and we found that. So let's go ahead and install the make file next. Again, we click through all the prompts that we're getting. Accept the license conditions, place it's going to be installed, and I'm just going to install everything. I don't like putting shortcuts on my desktop, but that looks okay. And that's pretty fast. It's a small program with the make procedures. Alright, so that's done, and look, that one's finished now. That's the installer for the system workbench, so we can start this installing. Again, we're getting a few prompts, and it's going to open a command window and start installing using commands. And after a while, it's going to open up the window so we can accept the terms and conditions, accept the license agreement. Several pages of this. Another one. Lots of licenses that need to be accepted. And then the destination where we're going to store it. And what we're going to install. Just going to click next. That's where I don't like to have a desktop shortcut. I like to keep my desktop clean. And then we start the installation, and this is going to take a long time. So after several minutes it will finish processing, and it's now going to install some drivers. I'm not quite sure what these are for, maybe for the STM link. we're just going to let it do its own thing. Okay, looks like it's all finished. There we go. So we've now got STM32 installed, and I guess it's just going to finish that script and then exit. So all the software is now installed. Let's see if it works. So we're going to launch the System Workbench. There it is at the top of the menu, just been installed freshly. And we're going to launch this. And again, this is going to take a while. I don't know if this is just first time, but or if it's the virtual machine. But let's move ahead and see it start up. There it is, and it gives you a welcome page at the start. Oh, and it's also going to phone home. So we need to let it through the firewall. And oh, now it's going to install the tool chain. Now again, I'm not sure what all this is, whether this is the compiler. It's not the compiler that we're going to be using if it is, but I really don't mind what it does as long as it works. So we'll just let it continue and do everything that it needs to install. Just going to watch this go through real time. This whole process took about 90 minutes for me when I without jumping ahead. So there were lots of sitting around waiting. Maybe I should have cut this one short as well. Okay, it's inching forward. I find I spend a lot of time sitting around watching progress bars. Alright, that's done. So let's move ahead. We're going to close the welcome page. We don't need that. You can read it if you want, but it's just getting in my way. And we're going to start a project here. So we're going to right click and we're going to import the project, and this is going to come from GitHub. So I'm going to select projects from GitHub. Next. And we're going to clone the URI, the resource locator, and we're going to get this from GitHub, of course. So now we need to go to GitHub and find the URI. So I'm just going to Google GitHub, and it's not near the top. It looks like we've got some books on GitHub, so we're going to have to find where GitHub is. Going down in the list, I can't find it, so let's just type in GitHub it's not .org, is it? No. GitHub.com looks like. Okay, that gets us there. And we're going to log in. Sign in. So you're going to need an account on GitHub. So here's my login credentials. I typed the password incorrect, so I had to let that happen. Now we're in. So I've got a number of repositories here. The one that the public source file for IQ32 is this one, IQ32 SDR source, and those are all the files. Let's make this window bigger, and over here this green box we can clone or download, and that's the link that we want there. We're going to copy that and paste it in on this import window in that URI. Paste, and the other fields get populated. The other thing we need to enter is our login credentials. So again, I'm just going to type this in here. This is so that the tool can log in and pull that repository. And go next, and it's going to start looking for the information. It's found the master repository, and we're going to pull that one in. That's where we're going to store it, and then it's going to pull down all the files and put them in that location. Again, we spend a lot of time waiting for these things to complete. Not sure why this one's stuck here at 63%, but we'll eventually get there. There we go. Okay, and we're going to import this into the as an Eclipse project, and that's where it's going to get stored, and it's all done. So on the left is the navigation for all the files that have been downloaded. So we can look at the STM32 SDR. We can look at the documentation here. This is a useful place to go. And these are the source files up here under code. There's the source for the main. If we double click on it, we can open the main and look at the source code here in the window. Alright, so we've got the files. Next, what I want to do is just try building this with a command line. So let's find where these files are stored. So I'm going to look in my user directory. There's Chris, and there's a folder called Git, which is where that repository is stored, the source files. There's the STM32 SDR files, and so this is where basically we're going to be doing the build. So what I'm going to do now is open a command window. In Windows 10 it seems to open a PowerShell these days, which is looks similar to a regular command prompt. So there's my prompt, and I'm going to now do a make. I'm going to type in the command, and the command will be make all. Let's get this set up. Make all. Hit return, and it should start building. Nope, it's not. It obviously doesn't know what make means, and that's probably because we didn't put it in the path. So we're going to open up the environmental variables and the path, and we're going to add to the path. So now we need to find out where make is installed in the program files. So I'm going to look for the path to the make file. There it is. going to navigate our way around here. Program files, x86, GNU Win32, and in the bin we should find the make. So that's the path that we need to add. So I'm just going to copy that path, and then we'll go back to the environmental variables, put in a new one, and we'll just paste in that path. Click OK, close all the windows, and let's see, we need to get back to our PowerShell, our command prompt. And let's try that make again now, make all. Alright, now it's working. And this is what you'll see, and it will take a little while. And since this is the first time we're going through this, I'll let it run, and you can see how long it takes and what it does. It spits out a lot of information as it compiles each of the files, and then at the end it's going to link them all together and produce the executable. So normally we will do this in the System Workbench tool, but I just want to make sure it's working at a command level first. And there are times when you might want to do a command build, which I'll show you once this finishes. So make all is builds the executable, the binary that we can load directly into the onto the controller board of the IQ32. And we use I use a STM link programmer to install that program on the board. A lot of files. There we go. Now it's wrapping up, and there at the bottom we see the files that are generated: STM32 SDR rom.bin, and in the Windows Explorer, here it is. That's the file. So that's the one that we take and we would load as a hex file or a binary into the STM link and program the machine. Just doing a clean now, because what I want to do next is make the boot loadable version. So this is the version that will go into the a flash drive, and when we build it in this way, you see now it has the name boot loadable image. There it is, and in order to put that on the flash drive we have to change the name to image. So I'm going to rename it and just call it image. Now it looks like I've already got a file there called image from a previous time, and that's actually in the repository. I'll have to change that next time I push to the repository. So just deleting that old image and renaming this brackets 2 back to image. So that's the file. We can put that onto a flash drive and program that with the bootloader, which hopefully you still have and didn't overwrite when you were programming the regular ROM. Alright, so now we're going to do a build in System Workbench. So up here is under Project is where we find the build tools, and I'll first do a clean, as that will invoke the command make clean, and now we've got an error. So it doesn't know what make is. It wasn't found in the path, but I know I put it in the path. So what actually happened here is, because I started this System Workbench before the we changed the environmental variables, it's not picked it up. So what we're going to have to do is close the program and start up System Workbench again, so it can pick up all the fresh environmental variables, which now includes make. And there's that annoying welcome page again. And in the main window here, we've still got the project. Alright, so let's go. We're going to do a clean again, because that clean didn't work before. So that's cleaned all the object files. Looking at the console, you can see what it actually did. So this is the same as looking at a console with a command window. That's the output. And then we're going to do a build all. And again, you can see in the console window, it's going to do the compile. And it's going to go through each of the files and build those. Takes an equivalent long time. And then at the end, it's finished the make. And those are the locations of the executables, the bin file and the hex file. So most of the time we don't need to do a clean, we're just going to modify the code. And so just as a test, I'm going to go to the main, and we'll change the version number. So currently it's 1.003, and I'm going to add to the string just dev to show that this is now a development build. Okay, and then we have to save. I usually just do save all to make sure I get everything saved, and then build a project. Now this time it's not going to, it's just going to compile the changes, so it's going to go a lot faster, and most of the time we're just going to do incremental builds. And there it is, all done, all working.